Last week I did a review of the Amazon Basic fountain pen and I compared it to the Pilot Metropolitan. A lot of people seem to enjoy that and were interested. And subsequently I bought a Pilot Explorer pen, and I'm wearing a shirt that matches the color of it. And it was even less than a Metropolitan. It was somewhere around $16. And the thing about fountain pens is you can buy very inexpensive ones and they can really write quite well. Also, one of the things I love about fountain pens, or some people might find frustrating, is you can buy the same make of fountain pen and it will, and same pen, and it won't write quite the same, even though the nibs are supposed to be the same. For example, today I'm going to talk about the Lamy Safari, and I have two Lamy Safaris, and they're both same fine nibs, I think, and they both, one writes kind of scratchy, the other one writes well. So there you go, and it has to do with the period of time, maybe it has to do with the factory, I don't know what it is, but that's kind of wonderful. I always say also, in a way, when you buy a used fountain pen, if you buy it from somebody who's reputable, and they can say that it writes well, it will. In a way, when you buy a new pen, you're never sure. So anyway, I thought today I would compare the Pilot Explorer, I always forget the name of this one, and with another inexpensive pen that also is a similar color as my shirt. I guess it's magenta color. This is the Faber Castell Grip. And I guess it's called Grip because it has this funny little markings. And the pen that I think both of these two are responding to, I've mentioned already, is the Lamy Safari. This is a demonstrator version of it. And this is a beloved pen from Germany. Supposedly one of these pens are in the design museum, or in the Museum of Modern Art in their design collection. And it's very similar size. It has this kind of quality of being modern. And I feel, in a way, particularly that demonstrator version, that the Lamy is a bit over-designed, and I have not had the greatest luck with it. I'm not wild about that pen. I have two of them, and I find the nibs a bit scratchy. But in any case, I'm going to just look at these three pens and compare them. And then I will do very brief drawings of some zinnia flowers with each one of the pens to see how they perform. They're all three are fine, but I think you'll see that I like one better than the other two. So first of all, let's compare them under the other with the other camera. And you can see that they're the same size, basically. And the Safari is a little heavier. I will post the different weights. The Faber Castell Grip and the Explorer are almost exactly the same weight. All three are obviously plastic pens. Let's look at the Explorer first. The Explorer has this metallic sheen to it, but it is definitely a plastic pen, and it has exactly the same nib that you will find on the Metropolitan, that you will find on all actually of the inexpensive Pilot pens. And I've recently discovered that one of the cool things about that is that these nibs are interchangeable, and you can get from in a pack of 3, you can get, it's called the Create Artful Writing. Let me show you that. From Enso Plumix. It's a Plumix pen. And here's the box. And it comes with 3 inexpensive Plumix pilot pens that have italic nibs. And this is about $27. And so as a result, you can take these nibs and put them on any of the inexpensive pilot pens. So let's say you wanted to have a calligraphy italic point on your Metropolitan, you can do that with this. So I may have another video where I will show you how that works and what the drawing is like when you do that. Anyway, so here is other differences or similarities. It's a pretty light pen, but I actually think it's quite elegant, quite nice to look at. Then we have the grip. Now, the grip is called that because it has these little white things here. And it also has a kind of soft, rubbery section where you actually grip the pen. Of these 3 pens, I feel this is by far seems like the cheapest of the pens in terms of the way it feels. All of these pens post, and you really need to post them, I think, and otherwise they're too light. So the same thing with the Pilot Explorer. I keep forgetting the name of this pen. I don't know why it's called the Explorer, but I guess that's also an imitation of the idea. I guess a Safari. You've got the Explorer. You get the idea. Also has this black element. Of the 3 pens, I said this is the heavier pen. The Safari is a bit heavier. The thing I don't like about the Safari, unlike the other 2 pens, is that they have shaped the section in the front supposedly to sort of almost force you to hold the pen in a particular way, and I find that I don't like that. It's kind of unpleasant. So you have to hold it in a certain way because of the way this is designed in the front of the pen. So this is a demonstrator pen, so you can see the ink in the whole thing, but another thing that's interesting about the Safari is this little window where you can see in and see whether there's ink in your pen. That is a disadvantage of the grip. It doesn't have anything like that, but it's hard to see this because I have actually black ink in it, but the Explorer does have a clear window where you can see a little bit of the ink in it, but it's actually very, very it's smoky, so it's a little hard to see that, but it does give you a window into when you're running out of ink. So that's a nice touch, particularly in such an inexpensive pen, I think, that it has that. So the next thing to do is just see how they write. So I'll start with the Pilot Explorer. And this is a medium. I'm using Pilot black ink. And it's a medium. And like most pens in this range, it doesn't really have much line variation. So it writes very well. And I think like all these Pilot pens, you can put it aside for a week with a cap on and it will write immediately. There's no problem. So it's very reliable. It's not too wet, but not too dry. Pretty smooth. Nice. Okay. So that's the Pilot Explorer. And here's the grip. Now I'd heard a lot about Faber Castell's nibs, and their pens tend to be pretty expensive, so I thought, oh, let's try one of their cheapest pen and see what that's like. Oh, excuse me. Try that again. So I'd heard a lot about Faber Castell's nibs, but they tend to be expensive, and so I thought, well, what about one of their least expensive pen? What would that be like? So here we go. This is the grip with a black cartridge. Now it is also a medium, but it's a bit thicker than the Pilot medium. Pilot medium is more like a Western fine. Again, it has no change in line width, no flexiness. It's not unusual for a pen in this price range. Here we go. Now, I think you can even hear it. It's a little bit scratchier, has a little bit more feedback. Not as pleasant, I would say. Now, my guess is that if you took very fine sandpaper to it, you could smooth the nib. It wouldn't be very hard to make it a little smoother. The real difference isn't so much the way it writes, but it's the way it feels in the hand. This patterning, which I guess is supposed to be part of the grippiness and the rubberiness, just feels cheap, and it's, not, it doesn't feel that great, and also I don't know why you would need grippiness over here, It's not like your pen is going to fly out of your hand. Well, this feels like it won't last very long. This is just soft, so I can't imagine like in 6 months this is going to still be in good shape, but I don't know. So now I think I'll do a little drawing. I think you can tell that the pen that I like the best actually is the Pilot Explorer. I like the color. I'm obviously partial to this color. Um, but also I like just the reliability of it. I like the smoothness of the writing experience. I like the fact that I can change the nibs with other Pilot pens. So I think it's an amazing bargain, and I actually like it better than I like just the way it looks better than the Metropolitan. But I like the Metropolitan. It's okay. I don't want people denouncing me for that. But I think the Lamy pen is very interesting looking and does have a very distinctive quality. The demonstrator in particular, I think, is cool. It may be a bit over designed when I say that, it just seems very showy in a way. Um, and yet, it's kind of elegant too, and has this sort of look that it's not trying to, like some of the other fountain pens, sort of give you this quality. Oh well, it's timeless, or it's from the 50s or something like that. This is trying to say, oh, look, this is the 20th century and you can still use a fountain pen. So there's something cool about that, and the clip, and particularly the demonstrator version, you have this shiny top to it. The only thing about that is that it hides the nib, and I like demonstrator pens where you can see everything. When this is capped, you can't see the nib, and so that's not as cool as it might be as some demonstrator pens where you can see the nib. Okay,